Hello, you're very welcome to AFI Weekly here on the Under Centre podcast. Dara here with you, joined as always by Reen and Alex. This show today and every show this season is going to be brought to you by Rain Rocks Web Design. We're very grateful to have Rain Rocks on board for this season. And if you haven't already, head over to UCP.ie. That is our brand new website for the latest AFI scores, results, and also the latest league standings too. So that is the place to go. You won't have to worry about things not being updated because it will be updated weekly as the results come in for sure. You'll still have to stick to our socials at Under Centre Pod for the latest highlights from games we've been to and, stat leaders and whatnot. And we will have fixtures and everything on that too. But Rian, first of all, how are you, sir?
Yeah, doing great. I've been showing everybody I can a little bio on the website. Look, this is me showing myself off. So yeah, hey, it looks great, and the fact that we have those tables there, whether they're right or wrong, whether we can get the maths right on them is going to be another question.
Right.
But they're looking good now.
There's no right or wrong. They're right.
Okay.
It helps that no one has played yet as well, so you can always just UCD at the top.
They're right at the moment.
Probably going to be right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Alex, I'm going to ask who you were in a second, but you've already got a comment, so you've got a fan base going already. I just have to know, how much are you paying Aaron to have the first comment on the show tonight?
Well, he was always my favourite McCardle. So there's no question there. It's just pure love, But yeah, I'm doing great. Can't wait to talk some football. 2 games this week, so we're ramping up to finally getting closer to a full slate. But excited to talk about 2 football games that happened and 3 that are coming this weekend. So yeah, let's get into it.
2 football games. Do you think we'll have enough time in an hour to discuss them?
Hopefully. We'll probably still go over.
Probably do. We normally do. But if you are watching us on YouTube, get your comments in as well as Aaron has already. Let us know who you find the most handsome this evening. And if it's not me, I will block you. And I can promise you that. Aaron's already been put in a timeout. But look, let's get straight into last weekend's games. We'll start with the Premier Division. UCD 36, the Belfast Knights 20. UCD start 2 from 2 with their opening 2 home games, which is exactly what they would have been planning to do this year. On the scoring side of things, if you didn't already know, Aaron Mooney had 2 passing touchdowns on the day, both to Tom Donovan. Tygo O'Connor scored with a touchdown pass to Pat Duffy. There was 2 rushing touchdowns for Brandon Atwell, and Brandon Atwell, Lewis Stanson, and Stu Wiley contributed with 2-point attempts too. On the Belfast Knights side of things, quarterback Liam Moores left the game early. I got to the game late there myself, and he actually was out of the game by the time I got there. But Zach McDowell, wide receiver, stepped in and put in a very good showing, throwing 3 passing touchdowns to Dottie McShane. Dottie McShane and Zach McDowell also contributed a PAT kick each in that effort for the Belfast Knights. So from the look at the score, you could say that it was another routine win for UCD. But going in 14-0 up at halftime kind of didn't really tell the story. You could tell that the UCD were a little sloppier than they would have liked to have been in the game. They probably wanted, speaking to O-line coach Tom Telford there during our at halftime, they weren't happy with the offside calls, the false start calls, that the line. It seems as though that they weren't exactly locked in from the start, so it took them till the second half until they started getting things rolling, which they did, and obviously scoring that 22 points in the second half to help them seal the win. But Rain, starting with you first on this one, another win for UCD. We'll get to the night side of things in a little bit, but 2 wins from 2, scoring over 30 points in each game. From that side of things, you got to be very happy.
100%. And it's the important thing as well is it's against 2 teams who will be vying for those playoff positions. So we're really seeing the strength of UCD at the moment. Yeah, I mean, what can you do in this situation if you're somebody else? Only go out and try your best. Hopefully the Trojans have something in the bag. Maybe the Panthers have something up their sleeve, but yeah, who knows? It looks like it's going to be all guns blazing for UCD this season, and they've started off with a pretty spectacular showing.
Yeah, absolutely. They look good. As you said, Dara, like the line or like silly mistakes, maybe putting them behind the chains, that makes it difficult for any offense, even one as good as UCD, to sort of keep the ball moving when you're facing, first and 20s, first and 15s instead of first and 10s every time. So it's not a surprise that maybe they didn't quite operate, or didn't quite put up the score line that we would be used to seeing them. But at the same time, this Knights team's a very good team, so they won't be ashamed by winning a game by 16 points. Like that's still a pretty good victory. I think we kind of suggested it'd be about 2 scores between the two sides here, so we were bang on there. So we're the experts as usual. But no, I think, yeah, look, what can you say? UCD performed well. I'm really happy to see my pick for league MVP in Tom Donovan having 3 touchdowns on the season now. So that's humming along nicely. If I can keep it coming, Tom. And yeah, I mean, they're performing like we all expect them to. A pretty well-oiled machine rolling out there. They probably don't really care who the opposition is. They are just ready to play their brand of football and look pretty damn good doing it.
Yeah. On the night side of things, putting up 20 points against the defending Shamrock Ball champions is a very admirable effort. And I'm sure the lads don't want to be hearing getting a pat on the back for an admirable effort. I feel like we were possibly robbed of maybe a closer game with Liam Moores having to go out early and one of the wide receiver threats and Zach McDowell having to come in and play quarterback instead. Hopefully we get to see that again in the near future, maybe in the playoffs. If it's a semi-final, or you never know, if it's a Shamrock Bowl, I think it could be a very interesting matchup later on in the year. On the defensive side of things for the Knights, despite UCD having some very long offensive drives and converting them into scores, there were times where they were able to stop them and force UCD to punt, where I felt like the week before against the Rebels, UCD could go up the field at any stage and score again and again and again. It wasn't until the fourth quarter, I believe, middle of the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter, till Aaron Mooney was pulled and Ty came in, whereas last week, I think it was after the first drive of the second half where Ty came in. So you could just see in terms of the Knights, and it's a weird comparison if you want to do Rebels and Knights right now and compare in comparison when UCD are pulling their starting quarterback. But, it seems as though that, there's consistency there with the Knights. There's stability is the word that I'm looking for with the Knights, where they've had a lot of the same players from last year come back, and the youth team again is providing a great avenue for more and more players to come through every year. It's going to be so interesting now with the next couple of weeks, especially the Knights and the Rebels face each other soon as well, which is going to be a great barometer for both sides to see where they are going to be when it comes to the end of this regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Knights, they've really built on what was a positive season last year. Obviously, unfortunate to hear about Liam Moore's injury. Hopefully, that's not one that keeps him out too long. But having an injury like that against a side like UCD and like not really seeming like you're slowing down, they still put up scores aplenty and looked good as well. That's a really good sign for the Knights. Like that really speaks to their coaching there. That they knew they could put in Zach and not really have a massive drop off in quality. They've probably trained for that such an eventuality. So just speaks to really good coaching on their sides and good sort of depth, clearly. As you said, pulling Zach from the wide receiver core, you've got to promote someone up the line. And clear, maybe they didn't need any other wide receivers other than Dahi McShane on the day. It was just Zach and Dahi throwing it around out there. But they've it's kind of it's a moral victory. Obviously, they'll pick up no points for that, and at the end of the day, moral victories won't get you into the playoffs. But it's a really good foundation to build off, and you hope that if the injuries are too bad, they get all their players back and they just build on this and look to have another good season.
Yeah, it is it's such a shame that we can't, kick off the season with 4 is it 8 teams in the Premier League or 10 teams?
8.
8. Yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't kick off the season with a 4-game slate of Premier Division games. That way everybody has a game under their belt. Like, I feel like this may have been a closer game if both teams came in with a game under their belt. We see it often in college football that teams who play on week 0 have an incredibly higher winning percentage than those who don't when it comes to week 1. So I think in this situation, UCD having that extra game under their belt, already kicked off the season, the jitters are gone. It probably did affect the game. We did see them jump out to a 20-point lead before the Knights actually started putting points on the board. So, it would have been nice to see that game with both teams having already cut their teeth in the Premier Division for the season. But look, as Dara said, hopefully we get that matchup again later on in the season, maybe sometime in the playoffs.
Yeah. And next up for UCD is on the 13th of April. They are at Cork Admiral, so they're heading down to the MTU. And for the Knights, actually, their next game is next week at home to the Cork Admiral. So very interesting games for both coming up there for that too. Let's move on to the other game that weekend, and probably a contender for shock of the season already. I don't think maybe the Vipers would agree with that, but just from the outside, Vipers 12, Causeway Giants 8. The Vipers score late in the fourth quarter to take the win in Lyon Park playing fields. A huge shock. Alex, I'll go to you first on this one because obviously it pertains to our division. The Giants going from the plate win last season now, not having the start they would have wanted.
Yeah, no, definitely not the start they would have wanted, especially at home. But the Vipers, they clearly had a lot to build on from last year. Like they sort of finished it on a bit of a low, and we kind of didn't know what to think of them coming in. But I'm suitably impressed by this win. I think they've always played the Giants close. So when you play close games like that, you're always likely to end up on the losing side. I think the Giants led this one toward the end, 8-6. They were holding on to a lead there by a 2-point conversion that they had. And the final drive of the game, the Vipers drove down, I think, 70 odd yards and punched it in to steal it. So the Giants will be massively disappointed by that, I think, based off the seedings and how everything finished up last year. I think they'll have to do some regrouping there. They've got a good coaching staff, so they'll get all the players back in this week and sort of try and regroup, break down what happened, what went wrong for them, what they can improve on, and they'll be definitely looking to bounce back on this one. I think it's probably a combination of factors. Like I know previously it's been said about the weather up there. The weather didn't really seem to play any sort of an impact there. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I don't know how windy it was, but it seemed to be fine for both sides there, and they no wet or torrential rain. So, the Giants will probably be asking themselves how they've let this one go, and the Vipers will be delighted. I'd say they were more than happy to play underdogs on the day and sort of come in a bit under the radar with people sort of, projecting. We unanimously went for a Giants win here on the podcast. So, they'll be only too delighted with the win, and to be able to make some of us eat a bit of crow. But fair play to them. They deserve the win on the day.
Yeah, for me, the thing that's probably gonna like hurt the most for the Giants out of that game is only putting up a single touchdown in it. Last season, they had a bit of a rip-roaring offense towards the start of the season. I think they put 50 plus on the Jets last season. So they'd want to know, or they'd want to, like, we know that they have the capability of putting scores up on teams. I've been at the back end of that as well myself, having played them multiple times in my career. So yeah, it's a shock to me that they weren't able to produce offensively on the day. Now, obviously, the defense had a pretty good day by all accounts, only conceding 12. You would expect your offense to be able to put up more. So that's going to hurt. But they do have some decent athletes there. You know, we talk all the time about Nate Wilson, Jig McCoy, a few of the other guys out there. Chaps, obviously, playing wide receiver. So yeah, they have the talent there. I think it's just going to be a case of finding their identity for the season to come and kind of just bedding in. It's now going to be a tough go. Maybe they were looking for playoffs at the start of the season. I'm not so sure after that game that it's going to be a reality. The plate is certainly still on the table. On the flip side, from the Vipers' perspective, I was really surprised and happily surprised at that. You know, we've played against the Vipers a few times with the Pirates. They've always been a sound bunch of lads. You know, the story that comes out of these small clubs all of the time, every single year is, oh yeah, we've recruited well, so we should be looking better. They had 33 kitted players on the sideline for that game. Now, I don't know how many of them actually played. I don't know if anybody was there for photo opportunities or whatever, but 33 kitted players is a marked improvement on last season. So when they told us they were recruiting well, they were obviously recruiting well. So obviously the brand switch and the new jerseys and all that sort of thing have done a bit to help in terms of drawing in that extra talent. And yeah, it seems to be suiting them very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the youth being able to draw from the youth pool as well. Like they have a good youth setup there that's been going for a few years. So that's clearly bearing fruit for them. And it just kind of points to how important that pipeline is for everyone in the league. I think that should be something that all clubs should really be striving to get that youth setup going, because, you know, the Vipers. And I don't know how many youth players were actually playing on the day, but as we know, they've got a youth team there. They've got some serious players, and I imagine that some of those players have graduated up to the senior team now and were able to take part on Sunday. Circling back to the Giants, I actually don't think Nate Wilson was playing a quarterback or at all on Sunday. I think it was Nathan Chapman playing for the majority of the game, or at least from the film that I've seen of it. So it maybe he could be out injured. I definitely recall seeing them when we scrimmaged with them up there, but he might be injured. He wasn't playing on the day, so he might have an injury or something that he's recovering from. So we'll wish him well there. I suppose while we wait for our noble host to come back, there's probably not a whole lot we can touch on. Rafa's shouting us out again in the comments. So shout out to you, Rafa, watching from Portugal. You know, I don't agree with his Rhino support, but love love him tuning in and dropping his comments every week. So as Dara said, get your comments in if you are watching us live tonight. I think another thing we did mention last week from the Viper side of things is that their head coach had written quite a rousing statement about the season that they were looking forward to. So yeah, I wonder, did he sort of have some choice words from him, speak to how this has been a close match the last couple of times they've played, and if you push and fight hard enough, you can come out on the other side with the win. And I believe they celebrated it. I heard some from some guys who were up there. They celebrated it quite wildly. So and rightly so as well. It's getting a win to start the season is a big thing for any team, and you're well entitled to celebrate it. Maybe they're just the Giants bogey team. So I know you mentioned that they've scored a lot. Last year, the Giants were able to put up points on different teams, but they didn't manage it in either game against the Vipers. We kind of just put it down to weather at the time. But maybe it's the case that they're just a bit of a bogey team, or their defensive scheme sets up well to play the Giants.
Yeah, I think you might be right, but that Vipers team, the confidence has to be absolutely hopping at this stage of the season now. Coming off a victory week 1, they're going to be now looking towards other teams that they can take a scalp off. They'll definitely be looking at the Stags as a team that they can take down. Stags, of course, being a bit of an anomaly. We don't know what they're going to be. We don't even know who's going to be playing at quarterback out there. But they'll be certainly looking at that as a target to take that win. And I think they should be setting their sights even loftier again. I think they should be looking at the likes of Kildare and kind of saying, why not? Last season is nothing to go by, particularly at this level of football. So yeah, why not set the expectations high? And if you start rolling through wins at the start of the season, we saw it with the Giants. It becomes a playoff push by the end of the season. So look, going 1-0 is always a good idea, and that's where the Vipers are at the moment.
100%. As you say, in Division 1, it's even harder to tell than from the Premier Division who's lost guys on the team and who's gained them. So clearly the Vipers have had some good recruitment, as we've said, and they're really reaping the rewards. Good start, solid foundation to build on, and I think now they'll be looking forward to the rest of the season with some real zeal now. Dara, welcome back.
Next. Thank you. I caught the end of that there. I'm sure it was a very detailed breakdown of the game, so I don't need to add anything more to that for sure. But what I will add is the next game for both teams. And for the Vipers, their next game actually is in a couple of weeks' time. Mother's Day weekend, I believe, the 29th of March, at home to the Dublin Rhinos. And then for the
easy 2-0.
For the Causeway Giants, they are heading to Kildare for a rematch of the plate final between them and the Kildare Crusaders in Newbridge, like I said, on the 22nd of March for them. So moving on then to this weekend's games, let's start with Saturday. There is 2 games on Saturday. First off, in the Premier Division, the South Dublin Panthers begin their campaign to try and get to the Shamrock Bowl, going up against the Belfast Trojans in a rematch, of course, from last season, where the Panthers were able to go up north and snatch a 6-0 victory against the Trojans in Derrimore. This one is in Terranure Rugby Club for those that are thinking of going to the game but do not know where it is yet. So Terranure Rugby Club, it was originally, I think, scheduled for the sports campus, but it's been moved to Terranure. I think all their home games this year is going to be there. So good spot for a game of football if you're in the area to head down. But lads, in terms of the game itself, the Trojans, are looking to take advantage of a weakness in the Rebels to sort of be that team to make the Super Bowl. And I know we're assuming UCD are already going to be there, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that they are looking to be one of the 2 teams there this year. Now, in Athlone, a tough assignment heading down to Dublin to take on a Panther side who were also beaten in the semi-finals last year for the Shamrock Bowl. Very quiet off season for the Panthers in terms of not much information getting out. Still looking for a head coach, I'm led to believe. I haven't seen anything to the contrary, whether or not anyone has been hired. Quarterback Manny O'Meara is over in Germany at the moment playing. No answer as of yet if he is going to be back in time for any of the games this year. Just like in general, just very quiet on the Panther side. On the Trojan side, like I said, they are continuing to build and hopefully, get back to the days of like pre-COVID with their dominance. They're always quite good with social media and stuff like that to show the process of how they're getting on. Probably one of the more forward thinking teams when it comes to that. I reached out to Phil Gunning, the head coach of the Trojans, to try and get a statement, and we were very kind to get one from him. He says, we're really excited to get the season underway. There's a real buzz about the team this preseason. We've put a lot of effort into preparations thus far, and we cannot wait to take the field against the Panthers this weekend. Execution, discipline, and unrelenting effort. Those are the standards. The Panthers will be across the lines, but the focus is on playing to our level, our identity, every rep. Alex, I'll go to you first on this one. Two sides that got to the semi-final, got within one game of the dance, came up short. Will both be looking to go at least one, if not two steps further this year.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, these two have kind of been the bridesmaids to the UCD and Rebels marriage that's happened post-COVID. They're always sort of on the outside looking in. So with that, the door is maybe slightly ajar now. They'll both be looking to stick their foot in there and be the one that takes advantage of any drop off from the Rebels. I think it'll be a really good match. Like it's always been fairly closely contested and hotly contested, not just on the field but also off the field. From the if anyone remembers the ineligible player gate of was that 22 or possibly 23. But yeah, look, the Panthers have been moving in relative silence, certainly compared to Trojans. The Trojans, in terms of the output on social media, the Trojans always look good on the old social media. They do things right up there as a club, but what they actually look like on social media and what they look like on the field is two very different things. So I would be really interested to see have they sort of improved on last year. They've always got fairly strong lines. They're pretty good in the trenches. I don't know. I assume Dom Lynn is still QB in there. So has he progressed? In his development to be that? Because he's got great speed. If he can sort of marry that with good passing game this year, I think the Trojans can certainly go all the way to Athlone and maybe even be the team to topple UCD. The Panthers, very difficult to get a read on them. We don't know too much, despite having a man on the inside in Fionn. They'll obviously be reeling from his retirement. But look, they've just got to get on with things. So it will be really interesting to see them. Don't know how it's going to go on Saturday, but it'll be interesting and I think eye-opening. It'll probably set the stall out for how the season's going to look. I think this game above probably all games in the early part of the season. I think this one will really be the one that sort of starts to mark out who's going to finish where in the league this year.
Rain, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Alex nailed it. To be honest with you, yeah, it's a case of where we have a total unknown versus a media juggernaut coming into this game. My instinct is to go with the media juggernaut. I always think people who are open about what they're doing are more likely to be doing it successfully than those who are keeping it a secret. But we are just operating on dribs and drabs of information from the Panthers, and they're totally entitled to have that kind of level of secrecy. But from what we're hearing, they're going to be missing Matty O'Mara. They might be missing Finn Kearns. They're definitely going to be missing Fionn Malloy. It's tough to lose talent that you base your team around. Obviously, the Fionn Malloy one was a joke, but it's tough to lose talent that you base your team
negatives
around.
make it positive there. Is that what it was?
Yeah. And still be successful. So they're going to have to implement a new system with a new quarterback by all accounts. We don't know who that's going to be. And it can always be tough to start the game. So my instinct tells me that this is going to be a Trojans victory, and a relatively comfortable one at that. But like we say at the start of every season, who knows?
Mm-hmm. There was the case last year, and this is the thing that the Trojans are going to have to sort out is, is there defensive issues? Or not defensive, sorry, offensive issues. At times they did struggle to move the ball. Relied a lot on, their running backs. I think another off season now for Dom Lynn continuing at quarterback is obviously only going to help him develop even more. They have got a great set of coaches up there, and it's just the case of now just putting it all together, and just getting it going. And the way to do it is to come down to Dublin and make that statement that they're going to have to do. I think there was too many games that last season that if they had their offense just humming just a little bit, they could have turned some of those losses into wins. This game in particular. I know last year the weather did not help. It was a rotten day, I believe. I remember up in Belfast, but they just couldn't move the ball move the ball well enough at times just to turn some of those very close losses into wins.
Yeah, the one that springs to mind for me is the UCD game from last year. They were one of the only teams to actually stifle that offense. And if they could have got anything really going on the ground early in the game, I think they scored like 20 points in the end. Not 100% sure. I don't have that level of research done. But they really struggled in the beginning to get the ball moving on the ground. And I think you're right. It will come down to the offense, whether they've smoothed out some of those problems, because it was a massive problem last season in a lot of their games.
Yeah, from the Panthers' point of view, one of the things I'd sort of worry about is, now obviously they could well turn up on Saturday with 40 players kitted, but they traditionally have lower numbers than some of the other teams at the top of the SBC, like the Trojans. Are they going to be playing guys both ways? Are they going to suffer from, maybe getting gassed a bit quicker because they're not able to rotate guys around like the Trojans will be, because the Trojans traditionally have a very strong and big panel there. So that could be one aspect that I'd certainly worry about from the Panthers' perspective, again, with no knowledge of the situation at all.
Yeah, it is like with this start of the season, it's always the case where there's this, every team has that optimism, but every team also kind of has that unknown, because obviously, teams don't give out all information saying, hey, we have this many players, we have that many players. You'll only find out going to a game or seeing tape on quick cuts. So there is kind of that, veil of secrecy at the moment in terms of, look, listen, do the Panthers have 18 players on Saturday? Are they going to have 30 players on Saturday? We won't know until, obviously, if you're there, you'll see it live in person, or on quick cuts, if you are a player, obviously, and you want to see later on as well, or you just wait for air fantastic reporting too, which you should always do at Under Center Pod. Always follow, make sure you follow. Let's predictions for this game. Rain, I'll go with you first on this one. I guess with no Fionn, you have no family ties to actually give an unbiased viewpoint, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, no, I'll be as I was always unbiased even when Fionn was playing for the Panthers. I'm gonna say this one is going to be a relatively comfortable win for the Trojans without it being a runaway. The reason I say that is because it's the first game of the season. Offense might be a bit sluggish, defensive issues. So I'm going to take the Trojans by 2 scores, maybe 10 points in the difference.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Rian. I think it'll be a slow starter. I think it'll be definitely probably a low. Take the under in the first half. But I do think the Trojans will eventually see it out. Just the more consistency and the bigger squad size will see them rule the day at the end.
Yeah, I think it's a clean sweep. I'm going to go with a Trojans victory as well. Yeah, I think, like I said, if you want to nail down that marker to be saying I'm going to be one of those top sides, I want a home playoff, I want to be going to the Shamrock Bowl, you're going to have to beat the team and you're going to have to win by 2 scores, or else the questions are still going to be there. Now, not expecting, Dom to go out and pass for 300 yards and for the running backs to have 100 yards rushing with a couple of touchdowns. You just want, no one's going to be ready absolutely perfect in week 1. Let's just see some stuff. Let's just say, right, that's some stuff we can go off now for the next few games. This stuff is working. Let's have a look at that. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what this iteration of the Trojans is going to consist of and see what's happening, because I know, Alex, you and me are quite privy to certain Trojan being very hyped about his side's chances this year, and well, he'll have to show us exactly what exactly is in store for the rest of the league this year. Now this Saturday.
Absolutely. Love it. No, go on.
Right. No, I was just going to move on then to the other game on Saturday, and that is, of course, in Division 1. It is the Kildare Crusaders hosting in Newbridge the brand new Antrim Stags. So for those who aren't aware, the Antrim Stags, of course, is a merger between the Razorbacks and the Jets. They have come together to form the one team. We reached out, first of all, to see if they would come on the show tonight. Unfortunately, there was no one available, so hopefully we get them later on in the year. But we were able to get a statement from them in regards to Game 1. For Game 1, our goal is to begin solidifying our presence in AFI while gauging our progress as a newly merged team. Mergers are never easy, and they are always learning curves. I should say. But we believe we made the right decision. There will be challenges along the way, but with the right team in place, we are confident in our ability to navigate them, staying true to our year 1 motto of progress through stability. This season is about growth in numbers and in player knowledge. Game 1 will be a key test, of how far we've come and what we still need to improve. Most importantly, our players are hungry to put on this new kit and take to the field. And also enjoy a hard-fought day of football, showing the league that we are ready to compete. And they do make the comment there that mergers are never easy. And for this sort of scenario with 2 teams that were struggling at the end of the year to come together to, try and make something out of, I'm not going to say something out of nothing, but something out of not a lot. With the 2 teams, they were at the bottom of the barrel last year, and not just in terms of where they were in the league, so they've come together. Hopefully they've recruited well. I believe they're playing out of New Forge this year for sure anyway. Other than that, again, we talk about the secrecy side of things, guys, and and the veil of not knowing at this start of the year, but I'll just give my own personal opinion. I am a little worried. I have this weird thing where if I don't see some sort of social media presence for a while, I get worried. I'm worried about the Panthers because of that. I'm a little worried about the Stags because of that. I feel that you're hiding something. That's my own personal point of view. I'm not saying there has to be something every day, not saying you have to put at least one post up every week, but just having that quietness for a while scares me a little bit, and there's other teams that have done that, and we'll get to them when, their games start coming along too. But your feelings, Alex, I'll start with you first on this one. For the Stags, they do put it right in the sense that they're saying, look, listen, this is about growing, this is about stability. And I think that's the perfect word for this, is just stability for this season for the team.
Yeah, look, I mean, they are a new, a new team in one sense. So you kind of give them a bit of leeway on that. They obviously they are coming from two clubs that existed. The board is presumably made up of members that have been members of those clubs for a while. So they will have experience in what it takes to get a club ready. The social media side of stuff, I don't really mind it too much. I'm not a big social media person anyway, so like it's Dara probably has worries about me, because I'm not putting up posts very, very frequently.
People, I'm not worried about. Teams, I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, you got to get your visibility out there, be posting, even if you're getting little back. I suppose, yeah, you've got to build that base up. You are right. Look, I think the merger was probably the right decision. The probably at least one of the two teams was going to fold if they went on as they were, which is not something anyone wants to see. And given that the players had kind of gone back and forth between the two teams in some instances, I think it did make sense. Look, I wish them all the best, but I think and I hope they know that they're probably in store for a difficult first season, as any season is with the first team, without having that sort of Division 2 or development sort of division where you can be pitted against teams that are of a similar sort of age to you or a similar stage in the club's history. It's going to be difficult. There's probably no two ways about it. But they just got to get themselves out there eight times the season to play the games, and that's a really key thing. Even if you're getting beaten, every week, you got to just get it there, finish out the games, so that you know what it takes to complete a full season. And then only then I feel like you can actually build towards aiming to have a successful season. At the moment, success would be getting all 8 games completed, and then building from there, because it's the only way you can start as a new club.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think both clubs, regardless of what anybody tells you about the Razorbacks, both clubs are coming from a culture of losing for the most part in their entire histories of clubs. So I know that the Pirates had some battles against the Razorbacks where we won a few, lost a few, that kind of thing. But when they made that jump to the first division, which I've been vocal about shouldn't have happened at that stage in their development, they did end up a team with a losing record. The Jets being the same, kind of having won the AFI 2 that season, making the step up, and then kind of falling their way back to losing ways. It's a little bit unfortunate for both sides. So it's going to be about building the culture on this one, on this season. And basically, yeah, as Alex said, I think there was a little bit of a veiled dig there in terms of giving up at halftime last season. But yeah, that cannot happen this season. Complete 8 games, that's a successful season. And then from there on, you start building your winning culture, because that's what it needs to be. I'm a little bit worried reading between the lines that the two clubs, after having come together, are talking about using this season as an opportunity to grow their numbers. That worries me. That suggests to me that they're not where they want to be in terms of numbers, whether that's 25 players or whatever they think is necessary. It feels like they're not there yet, where they probably should be, given it's two relatively large clubs coming together. So I would be worried for this season, but I'm very much hoping that they prove me wrong, and I very much hope that they have a set of kits that does well in the Sexy Bowl this year, because that's a way of winning this season.
Hearing not too far away from the colors of their logo. So I'll let you use your own imagination on that to think of what color it's going to be, for sure. On the Kildare side of things, they'll be the first to admit they've had a disappointing year last year. They let too many close games get away from them. They have also been one of those teams that have been quite quiet over socials. They picked it up over the last few weeks, so my worry for them is nowhere near the same worry as I would have for the other two teams I was speaking about. They had an influx last year of ex SPC players. Hopefully they keep them on board and they're able to grow with some recruitment. I'm led to believe a few players have moved on to past years new, I think, including wide receiver Sidney Pindy, who's moved to Germany. I'm led to believe. One of their defensive line players actually is going to be talking out for the Panthers as well this year. Two, that's the extent of what I know what's going on. I believe Wello is back this year too. He's been named as one of the running backs in their actual the roster posts and stuff like that. So, an experienced SBC running back there again this year for them too. But, I'm sure last year the objective would have been playoffs, would have been win Division 1, would have been trying to get promoted. They ended up losing in the plate final to the Giants. They'll have to start. They have to make sure that they start well and they start with intent this year to sort of make sure that they have the rest of the division on notice that it won't be the same as last year. They have a talented quarterback in Jordan Farrell. Their head coach, Richard Maloney? No.
Their head coach is Ken Farrell.
No, the former head coach, Richard
Maloney,
is gone back to DC. Ken Farrell is the new head coach. Thank you, Alex, for that. Stepping all over my toes there. Really appreciate it. Thank you. I was getting to my point. You wouldn't let me get there. It's all good. It's all good. But Alex, your viewpoint on the Crusaders this year, disappointing last year, want to make up for it this year.
Yeah, 100%. I think they're probably a club who consider themselves as the perennial playoff contenders in Division 1. They haven't managed to break that ceiling yet. So they'll be looking again to get one of those 4 spots, get themselves taken in the playoffs, and see can they find themselves in a Harp Bowl in June or July even. Hard to get a read on them. As I say, we know of a couple of losses, but the likes of Wello coming back, which was probably a question mark for a little bit, is definitely a positive. If they've retained any Rebels linemen, that'd also be a positive as well, and have an off season there to have gotten the scheme right and getting that all under control, because obviously that sort of the influx of the few Rebels players last year happened sort of mid-season, and there was definite, from when we played them, there was definite teething issues with the offensive line scheme that was in use there and sort of getting used to it. So you would think with a bit more, a few more reps now in the off season, they'll have gotten everything sort of the I's dotted and the T's crossed on what schemes and everything they're going to run. Jordan Farrell's going to be out there tossing the rock all over the field. So yeah, I mean, I think it should be a good season for them. Then I'd expect them to be up there competing for one of those 4 playoff spots for sure.
Yeah, for me, what I want to see from the Crusaders this year is a level of stability. Last season, I know it was mostly rumors and hearsay and all this sort of thing, but it seemed like there was a new story about the Crusaders every single week, and not necessarily good stories either. So what I want to see is stability. It's not going to be about blowing out teams every week or anything like that. It's just going to be about showing up, doing the work, looking good, solid, well coached, doing it, and moving on to the next one. And I think if they can get that sorted, just kind of keep the heads down and keep working this season, I think they have a shot at making those playoffs, because it's very congested there in the midfield of AFI 1 this season. So yeah, I think they have a shot as well as anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Predictions for this game, it's kind of tough not knowing the makeup of the Stags to really get into the game itself to see where it could be won and lost. But to the best of your knowledge, lads, Rain, I'll start with you first on this one. Who are you going with?
I'm going to have to go with the team that I know, to be honest, until the Stags show me something different. I'm going to be going with the other team, and that is the Crusaders. I'll go by a few scores in this one. They're a team at a different stage in their development than the Stags, like we said with the Giants last week. So yeah, I'm going with the Crusaders on this one.
Yeah, I'll agree with Ray and Crusaders on this one. They have pedigree under centre and Jordan. They have pedigree in the backfield with Wallow. We just don't know what the Stags are bringing to the table yet. So I'm going to have to go Crusaders on this one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, again, a clean sweep. I think the Crusaders, just because I know them, like we said, we don't know anything about the Stags. I can't blindly back it. I've done enough of that with the horses today at Cheltenham, and I've lost money, so I'm not going to do it again tonight with the Stags for sure. Moving on then to the only game on this bank holiday Sunday, and that is the Westmeath Minotaurs begin life in Division 1, or back in Division 1, I should say, with a home opener against the West Dublin Rhinos, who of course lost in the Hartball final last year, and will be looking obviously to make it to the final again this year, at least, if not win it. With the Minotaur side of things, again, I keep going back to it, but quietness from the team for most of it. The big story that we do know is quarterback Joe Kinahan will not be starting the season. There's hope he will come back midway, maybe towards the latter end of it for sure. When he comes back from a shoulder injury, Sean McCormick, who's normally their flag quarterback, is going to be starting a quarterback this Sunday, I believe. He's also previously played quarterback in the kitted side of the things for the Minotaurs too. So he definitely has experience there. From certain things that we've heard, some snippets that I've been able to get here and there, it seems as though recruitment has gone okay for them. They still have some really dangerous receivers. They have a big, strong O-line for sure that will be able to protect Sean. Sean obviously is no slouch himself. He'll be able to carry himself fine there too. Rafa there again at running back is always a tough man to bring down as well. And then on the defense side of things, which I'm sure was the thing that maybe let them down last year. I believe Connor Brennan was their DC last year. He's now been promoted to head coach this year. So he's still going to have some, say on the defense, obviously. So I'm sure there's been a lot of work in the offseason put in there to fix the defense, not so fix, but improve the defense and make sure that they'll be able to hold up their end of the bargain this year in games. But Alex, I'm going back to you again on this one. The Minotaurs beginning life back in Division 1 after a couple of years in the Premier Division. I'm sure hoping and expecting for a swift return back up.
Yeah, absolutely. We know from last year it sort of came to like the wheels fell off to a degree, as often does happen to teams that have had a few years up in the SBC. You take your licks, you start to lose guys, and it becomes difficult to maintain yourself in that division. We've seen it happen before. I mean, they performed admirably in their first season up there to survive, and the next season seems to be the real trick, as we've seen in the SBC of late. That second season syndrome, it proves really difficult to survive in that division in your second season. So look, but the one thing is the players that they do have that they've retained from that SBC season, they'll be hardened by 2 years of playing SBC football. And they say iron sharpens iron, and I think that's certainly true. Those players will be more ready and more battle tested than probably a good few players in Division 1 that they're going to face. They'll be playing plenty of veterans playing against plenty of veterans this weekend in your own outfit there in West Dublin. But I think they're set up to have a good season. To be honest, I think usually the team coming down has a good season. It's going to be a part rebuild, so I'm sure they'll be looking to go straight back up. But it's also not always the worst thing to have a season down there where you can sort of rebuild, get back to winning ways, like remembering how it is to win games, and that football can be fun as well as not just getting 100 points put on you by UCD, as has happened to many teams. So I think they'll be looking to sort of address their issues that they had that caused them to come down last year. Recruit a bit more, get your numbers bolstered, and then get a good season under your belt, and certainly aim for those playoffs. And if they can make it that alone with the experience they have in the squad, certainly could see it happening. I wouldn't put them past them beating any of us on the way to do it and going straight back up at the first point of asking. It's certainly on the cards for them, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say coming down from the SBC, having been bullied a little bit towards the end of their tenure there, I'd say they probably would have just wanted to start out with a nice, comfortable victory against one of the lower teams in the division, but they're coming in against what has been an excellent Rhino side in the last couple of years, very close to making it to the SBC themselves last season. But it's also an opportunity for them, right? It's an opportunity for the Minotaurs to make a statement, to show their intention for the rest of the season. Coming up, obviously, against the number 1 ranked team from last season left in the competition, it's an opportunity to put up a result and make a statement to say, look, this Division 1 stuff that we're in right now, this is a blip. This is not the norm for us. Our norm, where we should be, is in the Premier Division. So I'd say the guys down there are absolutely revved up and ready to go for this game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. On the Rhino side of things, I don't know how I did it, but I got a hold of head coach David Hosford to give me a comment ahead of this game. I know, and Dottie is a man that you cannot get to stop talking when you get him going. So I'll tell you exactly what he says here. Really looking forward to getting started again this week. Always exciting to see how the preseason work looks in action. We know we have to be on our game from the start against a very tough Westmeath side, and we aim to do that. Simple but effective from Dottie there ahead of this game. Look, we know how close we came last year to getting promoted and winning the Hart Bowl. You have that sort of taste of getting to the final and being part of it. The aim, of course, is to go back again this year. The off season has been good. Off season has been great in terms of recruitment. Really, really happy with the numbers that we were after getting in rookie wise and retaining veterans too. Absolutely delighted with that. It's a few changes here and there with coaching and stuff like that. We've been obviously lucky to get Sean McVay on board with us to help us out on the offensive side. The defense, manned up by Adam Skelly, is again hoping to take another step and be dominant again. But last season for us, there was too many times the defense had to carry the rest of the team through the game. And what we have to make sure as an offense this year is that we're able to hold up our side of the bargain, and not even just that, when there is the odd game that the defense may not be absolutely unsung, that we can take the burden on and that we can sort of help get the team through games. And with the strength of other teams in this division, I believe actually the division this year is stronger than it was last year as a whole in terms of teams and everything like that. It's going to be a huge task to get to the final and to win the whole thing. So to have a functioning offense, a functioning defense, and of course, not leaving special teams out, a functioning special teams unit as well is going to be so important to getting there. But Ryan, I'll start with you first on this one. From what you've sort of seen from the outside looking in, what I have been able to tell you, what I will not tell you because there's someone beside me there that I can't give out too much information to. Your thoughts on the Rhinos ahead of this opening game this weekend?
Yeah, I think that the storyline is going to be pretty similar to the Minotaurs, right? Obviously, a tricky game to start off the division playing against the team that was newly relegated, but also an opportunity, right? Go out there, win it. You have now shown the rest of the league that you're ready for a bowl should it come along later on in the season. So I won't go on too much about the Rhinos because I think their situation is pretty similar to the Minotaurs. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to a good game at the weekend.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Dara, the sort of the Rhinos' slow starts was a bit of a theme last year, and yeah, you'll obviously have been working on that, and you'll want to get off on the right foot. I think this game is a difficult game for both sides. They definitely would have preferred to have different opposition this weekend, but I think it's unquestionably the most exciting game in Division 1 for the first few weeks anyway. I think it'll say a lot. And I don't know, do you play them twice or you only play them once this year? Well,
yeah, no, actually, ironically enough, it's our first and our last game of the regular season.
Last game, so, okay, yeah. So that that'll be a really good primer for that last game. I think that actually sets up really nicely. Fair play to the schedule makers. Joe Kennahan, the one time Westmeath quarterback. No, I think that's it. Yeah, that's a great setup there. I'm obviously heavily invested. I'm hoping to convince my wife that we can just bring the children down to Westmeath for a nice afternoon and maybe catch some football there. Do a bit of the old scouting, but I think it'll be a really good day of football. I'm glad it's the only game on as well. I think that might get a few more eyes on it, and I think it's probably a good chance to showcase that Division 1 football isn't all just running between the tackles. We've got some proper, although you've got Sean McVay coaching you there, so maybe for the Rhinos, Division 1 football is just running between the tackles. I think it'll be a really good game to get there. So if you're in the area, definitely head down and catch it.
Yeah, he has banned passing the football, absolutely. The quarterback is just a vessel to hand the ball to the running back.
Sounds like my career.
You would have been perfect if you got that ankle sorted there now in the Rhinos this year, wouldn't it?
Yep.
But lads, I'm going to leave the predictions up to you for this one. I will obviously abstain. But Reno, I'll start with you first on this one. Minotaurs, Rhinos, who have you got?
Tough game, close game. I think Minotaurs by a score.
And because I play the Rhinos before I play the Minotaurs, I'm going to say the Rhinos win this one, so they won't be as annoyed with me when we play them in a month's time. And hopefully the Minotaurs will be forgotten.
You're okay with the Minotaurs being annoyed with you in that time?
Well, hopefully they'll have forgotten by the time May rolls around. You know, it's a long time away.
Oh, well, look, that, of course. Right. Well, look, listen, that is all the games previewed. That is all the games reviewed. So that's where we're going to end.
One quick one, Dara, just to mention, like, we'd be remiss not to mention that there is another game on Sunday happening, to be fair. The Wexford Eagles and friends are hosting the Philadelphia Blue Flame down in Gorey there. For the uninitiated, the Philadelphia Blue Flame are a charity team from Philadelphia made up of firemen and police officers in the city of Philadelphia. So those guys are coming over. They're playing a charity game there. They've got a long-standing connection to the island here. They've played a number of games over the last 15 years, I think. So yeah, if you're in Gorey and you can't make it up to Westmeath to watch that cracker of a match, definitely go down and check it out in Gorey on Sunday. So best of luck to everyone involved there.
Yeah, well said, Alex. There was a reason why I forgot that game. I won't go into detail on that one for sure. But yes, look, listen, that is a game definitely to look out for if you are around the Wexford area, Wexford Wicklow area. You want to catch a bit of American football this bank holiday weekend. That's where we'll wrap up this edition. Before we go, make sure as well you're following us on our socials at UnderCenterPod on Instagram and Twitter. We'll keep you up to date over the weekend with all the latest scores and results. We will also send you a link to our new website. You'll see it there. If you're watching us live, you'll see it there at the top of the screen, ucp.ie. Matches, standings, results, all of that stuff. Link to where all our shows are too. Like Rian says, you can show off our bios to your friends too about how we got into football as well. Alex was almost framed for being a secret Seahawks fan when we were actually building this website as well, which I wanted to keep in. I hoped he wouldn't notice, but he did, unfortunately. So that's what we'll have to get that fixed and get you down as a Seahawks fan again this year and see how long it gets you to do. I would say, do you want to do a Seahawks bet again this year? Seahawks 49ers jersey bet for every match. But the only jerseys I have at this stage, and I'm fully convinced I'm a bad luck charm, the only jerseys I have at this time is players that are leaving, the latest being DK Metcalf. It's the latest jersey that I have. So
yeah, I have a Deebo Samuel jersey myself, and I might need to send it up to Fionn maybe now playing for his Commanders. So yeah, it's a tough part of the year, the old free agency.
Yeah, this is always time of year. If you are buying an NFL jersey, choose wisely. Choose very
vintage.
wisely.
My go-to Panthers jersey is a Kerry Collins jersey from 1998 or something. So that's what I.
You can upgrade a little bit. Vintage can be more like a Luke Keatley one if you want it to be at this stage.
That's true. Well, that is true.
You know?
Yeah.
I see the Cam Newton behind you as well there.
Yeah.
That's a vintage one too. Like I said, that's where we're going to wrap up this edition of the show. If you aren't going to see any American football, we still hope you enjoy your bank holiday weekend, and we wish you a very happy St. Patrick's Day on Monday. Hopefully you get to see a parade or do whatever you want, even if you want to use the day to relax. But until next week, we hope you stay safe, and we will see you soon.
Peace.